Hey everyone, welcome to Taking Flight with the Creative Cloud, which is a series focused on aerial video and aerial photography. The first part of the series we recommended some settings for the GoPro, and then Steve showed us some tips and techniques for flying. But now that we've got our footage, it's time to bring it back and edit it. So I'm going to show you a workflow overview using some of the software in the Creative Cloud, and we're going to start in Premiere Pro. So let's go ahead and open Premiere. And I'm going to create a new project, and I'm just going to call it Demo. Okay, so now that we have Premiere open, the first thing we need to do is import our footage. So I'm going to double click on the project panel, and the clips we're going to be using today are from a video that I posted a while back called Utah from the Air. So let's click this, and we're going to import that whole folder. And you'll see inside this is all the clips that I shot from Utah. So I'm going to rename this footage. And then the way that I like to edit is I like to just get everything in the same sequence and just lay it out so I can see everything that I've got. So a quick way to do that is if we click this folder and we drop it on this icon down here in the bottom right, it will make a sequence that the sequence settings match the clip settings, and you can tell this by this yellow bar up here. That means the settings are the same. And all the clips are nicely laid out. You know, it was pretty much, it just was one step and we're ready to go. So it's kind of nice. So the first thing we need to do is I'm going to change this from full to quarter because I want to be able to play this in real time. And then I don't really care about the audio from this because I'm going to be putting music in later, and the audio is simply the sound of the rotor spinning, which is pretty annoying. So I'm going to mute that. Now, if you look at this, you'll see that I almost have 3 hours of footage, and that's kind of overwhelming considering it's almost 2 feature-length movies. So I definitely don't have 3 hours of usable footage. The reason why there's so much is because when filming with these quadcopters, there's no way to start and stop recording in the air. Your start of the clip is takeoff, and the end of the clip is, landing. So within this, you'll notice that this clip is about 7 minutes long. Within this clip, there's probably maybe 2 or 3 usable actual shots. So the first step that I like to do is I'm going to go through each one of these clips, and I'm going to pull out the usable stuff and delete the unusable stuff. It's a pretty easy process. So the way that I do it is I'm going to click the razor tool, which the keyboard command is C, or you go over to the tool palette and click razor tool. And I'm just going to kind of scrub through this and find a usable shot, which I think the copter turns right here, you'll see. So I'm going to define, once it stops turning right there, I'm going to define that as the in point. And I'm going to switch back to my cursor using the keyboard shortcut V. And I'm going to select this, and I'm going to push Option Delete, which is a ripple delete, and it will kind of move everything over as I delete it. So now I'm going to go back to my razor tool by pushing C. And I'm just going to watch this shot and just see where it ends, and at the end of it I'll set the out point. So probably right about there. That's only a couple seconds long, but that's fine by me. So I'm going to cut that, put an edit point right there. But I'm not going to delete the rest of this because there's still usable footage in there. So I'm going to go back to my cursor, and I'm going to scrub forward in this timeline. So if you see there, actually, I think I have a lot more usable footage than I thought. So I'm going to push Command Z, which will undo that cut I did. And I'm going to go back to the cursor and actually extend my out point. So now I'm going to go back to the cursor tool and keep on scrubbing through this and just kind of wait and see where there's another shot that I might use. I think there's one right about here. So if I go right about there, I'm going to make a cut on that point in the timeline, and I'm going to push V again to get my cursor, and then Option Delete, and just delete everything in between my last out point and this new in point. Now if I push play, you'll see that this is kind of another shot from start to stop. I think I finish up, somewhere above this cliff, right about there. So I'm going to go back to my razor tool and make another cut. And so I think you kind of get the idea. I'm basically going to go through each one of these clips, cut out the takeoff and the landing and anything in between where it's incredibly shaky or it's just, I was in between shots. And it will severely cut down, that 3 hours. Probably more than half or 3/4 of this footage is unusable. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'll get back to you. So we're back. So while I was gone, what I did was I went clip by clip and I cut out all the unusable stuff and only saved the highlights. And then I made a sequence called highlights and I transferred everything over as I went. And so you'll notice that I went down from 3 hours down to 30 minutes, which is much more manageable, and I cut out 2.5 hours. That's how much of that was unusable. So that's just the way it goes. So now that we've cut it all down, I get to my favorite part, which is creating the very first edit, which, that's where you really get to put your own personal style and, have fun and tell a story. So that's what we're going to do. First step is I want to create a first edit sequence. So I'm going to take this highlights sequence and I'm going to right click it and I'm going to say duplicate. And when I make it, I'm going to go ahead and rename that first edit. And I'm going to open this up, and all I want from this was a quick way to get a sequence with the same sequence setting, so I'm going to go ahead and delete all the clips because they're still in this sequence. So I have my first edit sequence, and this is where I'm going to start putting the final story together. And I'm going to be editing to music, so I might as well bring that music in right now. So I'm going to double click on this project panel. I already have it all set up to go, so I'm going to click this song. It's by a band called Stand By Red 5, and they were very nice to let me use their stuff. I'm going to import this, and I'm going to, as you can see, my project panel is getting a little cluttered, so I'm going to clean that up right now. I'm going to say new bin, I'm going to say sequences, and then I'm going to do another new bin, and I'm going to call it audio, and I'm going to make sure I click all the sequences and put those in the proper place. Click the audio, put that in the proper place, and now it's just much cleaner. So I'm going to click this song and I'm going to drag it into the timeline, and you'll notice that this song is about 2 minutes and 30 seconds. So my target goal is to bring 30 minutes down to 3 minutes. I went from 3 hours to 30 minutes to 3 minutes. It's kind of funny how that worked out. It wasn't intentional, but that's just the way it did. So now this is, there's not a science to this part. What you're going to have to do is just watch all of your footage and just kind of decide to tell a story somehow. So basically what I do is, I kind of pick some of these clips, so just as a demo. So I'll click, maybe this one, and I'll say Command Copy. I'll bring it over and paste. And at some point I'm going to add a fade to black in here so it kind of fades in with the music. But right now I'm not worried about that. All I'm trying to do is edit to music. So I'll probably edit this along with the beat. That's something I really like to do. So if you watch, so see how it cut on the beat there. So I'll select my next clip, which I'll just choose this one. So Command Copy. I'll go over, and if you use the arrow key, it'll bring you right to the edit point. So I pushed up there. So see if I'm selected somewhere in the timeline and I push up, it takes me to that edit point. I push Command V. There it brings my clip in, and I'm going to watch this and just kind of choose where I want it to stop. So don't really like the beginning there. I want it to, when it starts to leave this kind of cave. So I'm going to drag this and then bring this over. There we go. Very cool. So probably right here. I mean, you get the idea. Basically, this is something that you need to spend time on and really make it right. So, but the basic workflow is I just have my highlights to choose from, and I'm just transferring them over in a way that feels, right. So that looks pretty cool. So I'm going to spend some time on this and create an edit I'm really happy with, and then I'll come back. So see you in a second. Okay, so we've created the very first edit, and I did it exactly how I told you. I just went through my highlights sequence, picking the clips that I liked the best, and moved them over to my first edit sequence, and I edited it to music, and I just sequenced these in a way that I really like. So if you check this out, basic idea of storytelling. So this is completely up to you, and it's my favorite part is making this story, kind of out of different pieces. So that's the end of this beginning video. The next one, we're going to talk about stabilizing and color correcting in After Effects. So stay tuned.